This past week, the Bachelor franchise on ABC made a casting announcement that created a lot of buzz. A 31-year-old attorney from Dallas, Rachel Lindsay, is set to become the next Bachelorette. Well, she will be the first African-American lead in the franchise's history. But after 14 years and more than 30 seasons, many are wondering what in the world took so long. And here with me now to discuss it is Dr. Brittney Cooper. She is a professor of women's and gender studies and Africana Studies at Rutgers University, and she also specializes in race and gender representation and popular culture. I think it's fair to say you are just one smart woman.
I try.
Oh, no, it's all good. Thanks a lot for joining us, too, and thanks for being here. So I got to ask you, why did it take so long to get a black woman to be the Bachelorette?
Well, I mean, we're in a culture that is obsessed with adoration of white women, and we typically think of romance as stories that center white American folks.
But haven't times changed?
Well, we hope so. And so we're going to see, having Rachel Lindsay on, we're going to see in particular how ratings do. If we can take any cues from what happens when you see black women on the cover of fashion magazines like Vogue, often those are the covers that sell the least. So if this is any indicator, sometimes the American public actually does not embrace black women at the center. But the real possibility here is that the Bachelorette will bring in a new demographic, that it'll bring in a strong contingent of black women viewers who are happy to see a black woman at the center of the show.
So do you think it's all strategy on ABC's part, or is it because Rachel has talent?
Well, look, I mean, I'm not going to knock the sister, and I'm not a cynic. So I think that, you know, it's important. I think we're in a moment where folks are actually thinking about the love, lives, and desires of black women. I think on ABC, this is the show that brought us Scandal, first black woman at the center of a drama in over 40 years. And so they seem to be doing something with putting black women at the center of some of their shows. So I think this might be moving that strategy from scripted television into reality TV. So I do think that there's some strategy there. But I also think that when folks are worried about a franchise, often they turn to black women viewers because we are great at saving shows, because we bring a very strong demographic, and we also bring a really strong social media contingent to shows as well, you know, with the sort of virtual living room feel.
What type of impact do you think this will have on the entire country, especially when you think of little black girls who don't see themselves in roles that they wish they could see themselves in?
Well, you know, I'm a feminist, and so I feel conflicted. On the one hand, I think it's really important for us to see black women as desirable, and for us to see black women's desires, romantic desires, as being important and central. On the other hand, I always caution us against shows that, you know, make the narrative about black women having to prove themselves, because even though the Bachelorette premise is that the suitors will be trying to get Miss Lindsay's affection, in some ways, because she is the first, it is really on her to prove that this is desirable for the country, that people want to see black women fall in love.
And not just black women, Hispanic women, Asian women.
Sure, women of color, absolutely. I mean, look, we're in the second decade of the 21st century, and so we need as much diversity as we can get. And so I'm going to be cheering for Miss Lindsay. I hope that she succeeds and finds love, but I also want us to continue to have complex representations, and so black girls can see that that it's not just about having to prove yourself to a man.
All right, well, speaking of color, since this is your expertise, let's talk about the Oscars now, if I should say. Last year, we had this whole Oscars so white movement there. Do you think it has made an impact on what's going on now? We're starting to see more people of color being nominated, or is it just talent? Going back to that talent thing.
Well, you know, here's the thing. You know, people of color have always had talent. That's not new. And so having the Academy actually recognize this kind of talent, and also seeing black directors and black filmmakers getting the kinds of resources to tell really important, compelling stories. You know, thinking about Moonlight, right? As you know, which was phenomenal. Which was absolutely phenomenal. And so it is a shoo-in for so many awards this year. You know, but that complexity comes out of African American culture, and it's really nice to see that being recognized. The thing that's interesting is that it's not new. And so I'm hoping that this is not just a gimmick, but the Oscars took a beating on social media the last 2 years with the Oscars So White hashtag. And it turns out the social media has become a really important place to hold popular culture accountable for its lack of diversity.
But does it mean that the controversy is over?
No, not at all. I mean, look, part of what we hope is that this will set a new trend. If it's just a blip on the screen, sort of like when Halle Berry and Denzel Washington both won Oscars in 2002, and then we haven't seen another black woman win best lead actress since then. If it takes us 15 years to get from one major milestone on race to another, then that's something we should be concerned about. But there are so many films, nominated in many categories, documentary, even black cinematographer Bradford Young nominated, not for a black film. So this gives me a lot to be hopeful for. I think we should be excited about this.
And okay, thank you. Another topic. Let's get to the,
Sure.
of course, the Super Bowl. The New England Patriots walked away after that beating against the Falcons.
I know
there. Some of the players have said that they will boycott the traditional trip to the White House.
Sure.
Many of them saying that they're going to do this because they don't agree with the president, the current president here. Do you think these type of boycotts work? Are they effective, or is it just a lot of noise for the moment?
No, I think they do work. I think they're really important. I think that this particular set of boycotts comes on the heels of Colin Kaepernick's boycotts earlier in the year. And we care so much about what athletes are doing, and so they can set a trend. They can raise consciousness. And also, Tom Brady did this during the Obama presidency. Now he's trying to say that it wasn't political, but it absolutely seemed political. He's a huge Trump supporter. And I think it's really important for our players to say, look, we're not just here on the field to entertain you. In politics, if we have politicians that don't care about the interests of people who come from the communities we come from, we're not going to support that. That's a very important message.
All right, I wish I could go through all your degrees again, but I'll just say go ahead on, sister. You are one smart lady. Thank you so much, Dr. Brittney Cooper. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right.